The first order of business tonight is the matter of rezoning petition number 2012-002, Commercial Street in the Hotel Overlay District. When we last convened on this matter several weeks ago, if I'm not incorrect, the way the committee left it was we had directed staff, Mr. Cadavatore, with assistance from General Counsel, to engage representatives of the applicant to discuss the numerous concerns we put on the record and to see if we couldn't reach a satisfactory resolution so that we could frame a motion this evening to forward this matter on to the council for public hearing on May 8th. Mr. Cadavatore, can you give us a report on your effort?
Sure, I believe you've received a letter dated May 2nd from Attorney Cunningham. I think there were three distinct areas that the committee had raised concerns over at the last meeting, which were related to setbacks, in particular potential for need of a side yard setback, the definition of hotel, and that's both defining what it is and also perhaps what it would not be through either specific definition of hotel or also prohibited uses. And then there was also some discussion of the actual boundary of the proposed HOD. And so in the draft that you've received, I believe there's a black line version including a more specific definition of what a hotel is. In particular, also prohibiting or having specific language about the prohibition of any period of time ownership of a room in a hotel, that they would be just rented to transient guests and not be a condominium, a cooperative, or a timeshare. There also, I think, was some concern raised about the potential of a casino, which is now included as a prohibited use. Moving on to setback, I believe there was a proposal or asking would a 10-foot setback from adjoining buildings be appropriate, the concern being numerous concerns, but one of them being from a fire safety perspective. I did have some discussion with the building inspector. There are specific building codes that relate to the type of construction, which you really will only know what restrictions might be in place once there's an actual proposed structure. But that 10-foot is generally the kind of starting point and a reasonable setback from adjoining buildings and adjoining lots.
So that would specifically relate to the Mortal Hour property in the corner of Ford Square and Commercial Street?
Yes.
And that would adapt as necessary based on both building code dynamics?
I believe it would be a conservative start. There may be particulars about a proposal that may be more restrictive, require more setback. One of the other things that are more typical is as a building gains height, there are increased concerns and also increased codes for the distance between buildings. In this particular instance where there's a proposed height exception extended to this district, that is certainly a concern that could be raised during the proposal and would simply have to be addressed by compliance with the building code, but at least it would also be further evaluated in that perspective if there's added height above what's allowed in the district. And I believe that the final remaining issue was with the surrounding the boundary of the district, and there's now a new proposed boundary which I believe bears the date of May 2nd, which excludes all of 33 Commercial Street and includes a portion of Pavilion Beach.
And that would be the 35-foot strip adjacent to the improved uplands?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham, could you give us some explanation as to why you feel that's required as part of the HOD?
One of the things that we're planning on is having pedestrian access from Commercial Street across the westerly boundary of the site and down to the beach. And the engineers have looked at this. We're going to need stairway, and we'll also need ramp for accessibility. On the Ford Square side, we're hoping to have improved access from Ford Square. And this building, the engineers have also met with CZM and DEP And it's clear that what they're going to want is a sloped, riprap kind of shoreline protection that obviously at this point isn't designed because the building isn't designed. And that we hope to incorporate, if the regulators approve it, a walkway across or integral with that seawall that would connect Fort Square and that public access across the site, link it with the public access on the westerly side, and the city's amenable to it, connected with the city's harbor water system. But all of those shoreline improvements will, to some degree, extend beyond the existing footprint of the building. Our engineers are going to seek to minimize that. The regulators will seek to minimize it. But in order to have those components of the hotel, those are actually part of the structure and part of the financing, we need to have the ability to have that within the HOD district.
And that would all be subject to approval as part of the special council permit process, I think.
Well, the HOD clearly doesn't give the applicant the right to do anything as a matter of right. It's all subject to the City Council's approval as part of the HOD. Not to mention Conservation Commission, CZM, DP.